This is not a story about healing. It's about obsession, broken boundaries, and the price of being seen. This is my confession. I fell in love with my therapist, and I ruined his life. My name doesn't matter. What matters is what I did, and who I became because of it. I was 24 when I first walked into Dr. Marcus Hale's office. I wasn't expecting anything miraculous. Therapy to me was a last resort, something you do when you've tried everything else. I had tried meds. I had tried journaling. I had tried alcohol. And more times than I'd admit, I had tried disappearing from this world. Dr. Hale was in his mid-30s. His office smelled like leather and cinnamon. His voice was soft but authoritative, the kind that made you feel like you were being listened to even in silence. He had a wedding ring, a diploma from Columbia, and a photo on his desk of a young boy sitting on his shoulders. His son, James, he told me. My little tornado. I forced a smile, told myself, get through this. Just talk. That's what they say, right? Just talk about it. So I did. I told him about the first time I had a panic attack in a grocery store, about the recurring dreams, about the years I spent pretending that what happened to me wasn't real, about my stepfather, and how my mother looked the other way. He didn't judge. He just listened. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel crazy. Therapy became my weekly escape. 1 hour where I could unravel everything without someone flinching or offering fake comfort. Dr. Hale never interrupted. He asked questions, not solutions. He gave me metaphors. You're carrying a backpack of bricks. Every time you share, you drop one. I started to drop more bricks. I told him about the man I dated who screamed at me when I cried. The boss who touched my waist every time he passed behind me. The time I sat on a hotel balcony for 3 hours, wondering if falling 12 floors would end things fast or just hurt more. His eyes would soften, and he'd whisper, "You deserved none of that." Maybe that's when the line began to blur. I didn't just feel safe, I felt seen. 6 months in, the sessions changed. He smiled more, laughed at my sarcasm. He stopped checking the clock as much. Once, I cried so hard I couldn't breathe, and he moved his chair closer, not touching me, but close enough that I could feel his presence like a weight against my chest. I started dressing up before therapy. Lip gloss, perfume. It wasn't conscious at first, but eventually it was, and I think he noticed. He began ending our sessions with "take care" instead of the cold, clinical "see you next week." One rainy Tuesday, I lingered at the door. I said, "You're the only person I feel safe with." He didn't answer right away, just looked at me, too long. That night, I stared at his business card in my hand for 2 hours. Then I messaged his office line. "I miss talking to you when the session ends. Sometimes I wish we could just grab coffee like normal people." He replied the next morning and he said, "Boundaries are important for both of us." But he didn't say no. 3 weeks later, he suggested we try an off-site walking session, a public park, bright and populated. He called it exposure therapy, but it didn't feel clinical when we sat on a bench and talked about life, not trauma. He told me about how he used to play piano in college, about how his wife used to be a painter, but she gave it up after their son was born. I asked if he still loved her. He said, "That's a complicated question." The way he looked at me that day, I knew we had crossed something. A line, an understanding. The week after, I wore red lipstick, a silk blouse. And after our walk, when we reached my car, I kissed him, just once, but long enough for him to kiss me back. He said, "This can't happen again," but it did, many times. It became routine, a second life between stolen hours. I'd park 2 blocks away from his office on Thursday nights. He'd leave the back door unlocked. We told ourselves it was just until I felt better, that it was therapy in another form, but deep down, we both knew. It was an affair, a betrayal, a slow, agonizing fall. He stopped wearing his wedding ring. I stopped seeing anyone else. One night he cried in my arms, said he hated himself for what we were doing, that he feared losing his license, his family, everything. I begged him to leave her. I told him we could make it work. He said he needed time, but time ran out. His wife found out, not from him, from me. I was tired of waiting, tired of secrets, so I wrote her a letter, told her everything, sent photos. I thought it would set us free instead. It destroyed everything. Dr. Hale lost custody of his son, lost his practice, his license, his reputation. He never answered my messages again. One day, I passed by his office, empty, a for-lease sign taped to the glass. I walked home, sat in my bathtub fully clothed, and cried for hours. I ruined his life, and yet part of me wonders, did I do it because I loved him? Or because I wanted to see if anyone would choose me, even if it meant losing everything? Maybe the worst confessions aren't the ones we whisper, they're the ones we tell ourselves just to sleep at night. It's been over a year. I moved to a different city. New apartment, new job, new therapist. This one's a woman, strictly professional. No blurred lines. Sometimes I still check Marcus's old social media. There are no updates. Just digital silence, like a man who never existed. His son James shows up on his ex-wife's profile sometimes. Soccer games, birthdays, a life he no longer seems part of. I never reached out again. What would I even say? I'm sorry I destroyed your life, but I thought you might love me back. I wouldn't forgive me either. People talk about closure like it's a door you get to shut, but some doors never close. Some stay cracked open forever, letting in just enough guilt to remind you what you did. I still hear his voice sometimes. Soft, steady, kind. The way he used to say my name. The way he never flinched when I told him the ugliest truths. And then I remember the last time I saw him. Standing in his office doorway, eyes hollow, shoulders heavy, the weight of our choices hanging between us. He didn't say goodbye, neither did I, because some endings don't come with goodbyes. Some endings just come and stay. If you've made it this far, you're probably wondering why I'm telling you all this. Not for pity, not for absolution. I think I just needed someone, anyone, to know the whole truth. Because the worst kind of guilt isn't the loud kind. It's the quiet one that sits at the edge of your bed at 3 a.m., whispering, you could have stopped this. I ruined a good man. I stole something from him. He may never get back his peace, his son, his purpose. And I told myself it was love. But love doesn't leave destruction in its wake. Love doesn't manipulate. Love doesn't burn someone's world to the ground just to prove it existed. So here it is, my final confession. I didn't fall in love with my therapist. I fell in love with being seen, being heard, being held, things I had been starved of for so long. I mistook them for love, and in that hunger, I consumed everything he was. Maybe the worst part isn't what I did to him. Maybe the worst part is, I don't know if I'd undo it, because for a brief moment in that chaos, I felt alive. And maybe that makes me a monster, or maybe it just makes me human. But either way, this is the truth, and now, someone finally knows. Some stories aren't meant to be forgiven, only remembered. If you've ever crossed a line or been someone's downfall, just know, you're not alone in the darkness.